With Conan, right?
Hololive OIC.
Blitzball.
Oh, Blitzball.
Waka waka. Yes, Nika, we heard that you. Someone's dog.
Boot up.
Good luck,
Alright.
have fun, bye bye.
Hello guys, how's it going? Sorry for being a little late. Let's get this party started. Today has been a rough day for me. I think I'm mentally shot in a lot of ways, but we're gonna truck through this. Gonna try to get through everything that we haven't done yet on the anniversary. I still have the CQ that I have to do there. I'll probably do it on an additional day. Otherwise, I am currently done with the event. So at least for right now, I am just gonna make a blue apple because we're gonna go over. We're gonna do the JP side of things for a little bit here, and then we'll have whatchamacallit. We'll have stuff that we have to go over. Hello, Epi. Okay. One of the things I want to do today with you guys is I would like to do the Azrael challenge. Basically get that out of the way for the month. Oh, now that is a shit exchange right there. There's nothing good or positive about that. Okay. So, this is a 100-star thing. I don't know what these missions are. Do I have, like, multiple times to complete this? That's what I'm looking for. Actually, let me back out of this real quick. There is a comp that I would like to do, but I gotta make sure that I can, in fact, do it. Yep. Gonna need to work on skills. Long streak, indeed. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. Well, you sent me the comp, but I'm not sure that I understand the comp. I see that there's like turn 1 and here's your turn order stuff, but it's not always clear as to what it's telling you to do. Because I can't read a Japanese picture. Now, let me try going in and seeing if that explains it. I can translate it. Okay, all skills is what that means. Which, thankfully, her, Monahari's set is not, like, a big deal. Okay. I too had to level all of her skills for this. Monahari's always been, like, a debuffer. And it's one of those deals of, like, most people I don't think actually use someone like that very often. Not that it's not useful, it's just... it requires a little bit of, like, niche scenarios for why you would take it over just taking somebody that's a little bit more straightforward. Like, why take a debuffer when you can instead buff yourself? Why take a debuffer when you can instead charge yourself? Like, that sort of thing, so... okay. No pins required. Hilariously, my Logress is not Bond 10 yet. Mostly because I cooled off on using her because I didn't want to overuse her. Okay, so I have to make sure my team has a total cost of 80 or less. Where's the Matahari? There it is. Crash. Okay. Oh god. I think Matahari requires K-scope, if memory serves. Wait. No. MLB of the old 3-star. Okay. Wait, is that the right one? Or are my eyes playing tricks on me? That's the right one, isn't it, chat? I'm not insane. It's not the right one. Ooh. Oh, it's so tricky. Doesn't look like it needs to be MLB. I just need a single copy. Welcome back, OG Plug Suit. We're back at 2015 here again. Let's see. What teas are we looking for? We're just looking for that one. And then we need Habitat. Yeah, that's not the one I'm looking for. That is. Okay. Good old Behold the Pale Horse. Okay, let me go back and read my Japanese. So it says it's 1 to 2 command seals and luck based. Okay. Matahari needs to be defeated by taking damage on the first turn, so you'll want to use the lowest level possible. Makes it easier and saves time. Yeah, I just don't know. Like, because I don't know what the missions are, I can gather that it's required for the missions, but I don't know what the missions are, so I don't know why I would be using the command seals. I don't know if anyone in chat can TLDR. Wait, what? Just so chat what I'm looking at. All skills, order change, skill 3 noble phantasm. If not defeated, start again. Huh? Am I subbing for Habitrot? Wait, am I plugging for Logress? Because this is what the Twitter image posted. Who gets the buff from Habitrot? That's what I'm wondering. Then swap Logress for a Rash. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Otherwise, I was like, what? Like, how the fuck is that supposed to work? Alright, fuck it, we ball. Hello, Barry. How's it going? What is this supposed to be? This is the Azrael's Mausoleum. What a time for that song to kick in. They're on fandom. Yeah, let me grab that. I assume I can redo this mission. Okay. Like, so if I don't get all the missions, I just come back and do it again until I get all the missions. Alright, so it's all skills. While targeting Merlin. I assume I need to NP here. Yeah, God, the translation screwed this really hard. Welcome to Time Attacks. Yeah. I guess my question is, how imperative is it that Matahari dies in one hit? You have to hit 2 million damage on crits? Well, I do have that. The issue at play is I don't have Double Buster, and um, one of the missions is to form 2 Buster chains. So I guess it's theoretically possible, but it's not something I want to try. Logress solo? Well, it's an attempted Logress solo. But I have to find a good enough Logress. Needs to be a Grand, needs to be in P5, needs to have her Bond, CE, and needs to have a level 100 MLB Black Grail. Which is hilarious because I can do that, except for one problem. I don't have her Bond 10 yet. Like it ain't no thing. Hello, Angora. Okay. What Lancer are you guys talking about? On the YouTube side of things. Oh, Nikitich? What do we wanting to know about her? Will this one require a cat off-screen victory, or is that just for Buntoria? This is clearly an evil altar. I think I have a problem, chat. My Matahari's foed. Now for the worst thing imaginable. Cycling over and over and over again until we actually get enough Logress Grand. Or try to use that crit. It is hilarious that she's like not critting at all. I don't think that'll affect his NP, but regardless. That's bad luck. Esports time, yep. Bro, I'm getting weight roomed in the opposite way. Normally, when you get weight roomed, it's because you haven't worked out enough. I'm getting weight roomed because my Matahari's too thick. Like, literally, the foes on her are making her have too much HP, and she won't die. Unless I'm missing something. Well, I'm gonna ask you: was your Matahari HP foed? Because I think that's my problem. Like, literally, she won't die. The other problem here is I suppose I could go another round if I could get 2 Buster cards, but because I can't, I can't. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Imagine saying Matahari not dying is a problem. It's actually kind of insane. And I assume it's because somehow Merlin is responsible for 2 of the attacks here. So, the issue that we have is that when he gets, like, charmed, he is getting locked down to such a degree that he can't finish her. Now, I guess my question is, do I have to charm here? Like, it says use all of Matahari's skills. But the big thing that I'm seeing for the missions is simply that he becomes skill sealed and unable to act at least 3 times. And I think that's what I'm asking is like, if he can attack, surely she dies. If he can't attack. I don't know how she's going to. It's going to require an actual Buster crit from Lulter, and Lulter keeps using her quit card. And you can tell because of the animation. So that's my question is, do I need to use the charm right now? It's the self-def down one. Uh-uh. That time she did 2 attacks. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Has she been buffing and I was just getting really bad RNG and not noticing it? Got to find a reason why my money's all gone. Oh man, that's a little cheeky. Just saying use all skills on Logress where skill order actually does matter. Okay, it wants me to target Lulter then after this? Get what you deserve. Time to get served. Loving is what I got. Did I get screwed here and this Logress didn't have enough? Just triple buster? No, it's telling me to NP. Like I'm showing you guys, and I want to be completely clear here. 100% the reason I can't just go forward is because I fear fucking this up because the translation is so fucking bad. So that's the actual picture pre-translation. This is what the translation says. All skills. Seal NP, target Noble Phantasm BB. What? No. The hilarious part is it does in fact say BB. Does Logress have the Bonzi at charge mode? I don't know. Boster. Okay, that's actually great. I don't know why, but my brain was resetting, and I think it's because of the rolls that happened yesterday. So my brain is like, why are they talking about BB? Okay. I've been hacked since yesterday. I really have. Yeah, I have to use a seal. Send you an image. I mean, kind of, but also it's still a little bit of a problem. Because what the hell is mantra NP? Is that skill seal? Is that what it is? Is mantra their word for that? Because if so, I've truly never no. Because there's skill seal right there, or command seal right there. Sorry, not skill seal, command seal is what I was trying to say. I don't know. We're just sending it. Need to sing the hymn of the faith. Yes. I don't know. It's like my mental capacity cannot handle this. It's like just give me a clear set of instructions and I can do it easy. Okay. I'll definitely get all the missions if that keeps up. Was she just affected by curse, or was that the curse enhancement? It was the curse enhancement, thank God. Yeah. Because curse would break one of the missions. Okay, it's just Noble Phantasm into BB again. Don't you dare charge. We'll see. Chad is right. I probably can't get cursed. But if I get him P sealed, we have a little bit. Well, actually, I shouldn't. Thank God. But did I didn't lock him down for 3 turns, did I? I thought I only locked him down for 2. It's just to be 3 times? Not 3 turn. Oh my god. See, do you see what I mean, chat? Okay, so it says QA. So it wants me to do quick arts. I'm not... yeah, I'm not really sure why. I get that the mission is over, but maybe it's thinking, like, just in case you didn't manage to clear here, to use a command CLMP. Oh, okay, so I did do it correctly. I thought I took something wrong, so that's why I was like, huh? Okay, did we do them all in one fell swoop? Like, I meant for that to be an easy demonstration for you guys. I have to apologize. That was made so much more difficult by Google Translate. Yeah, we got them all. Boom, baby. See, chat, first try. Anyways, one of the other ways is an Olga clear, by the way, that they were talking about. I think the old perfect Olga Marie is a little bit more difficult due to party cost restrictions. And yeah, that's what I remembered, was seeing the K-scope on that one. I think it also requires very specific things like appends and stuff, so that one's a little bit tougher in regard to the requirements. But yeah, nice and easy. So that got me 70 flames, and I'm gonna assume that that's 70 flames that we get, like, just in total every time. So to me, that's the obvious thing you go for. You grab one of these suckers because this is the only way that we can get them currently. So then the question is, what do you do with the other 20 flames? And I feel like they've done this on purpose so that you're sitting there and you're having to be like, Now, I am also going to say, this is, I think, the other reason I hate the new 5-star foe thing. Yeah. 5-star foes exist. I hate it. Like, actually. Just make it a freaking 6-star foe. Like, don't do this shit. It's just confusing. Someone's gonna get real upset when they cash in and get the wrong thing. So you can redeem this up to 4 times. And so Avalon's saying that they that this only resets every 3 months. So if that's the case, then you have 210 to spend, theoretically. The max cost is 210, so you just clear it. Yep. But yeah, just, it's a little convoluted. I think that's my major complaint. I also kind of agree. It's like, I don't truly want them to do 6-star stuff, but then my point here is, like, why did we release 5-star foes in the first place and not just release an expansion to the system? Well, chat, the daily story summon does work. There's your proof. Hey, I was just taking a look at who else was available. I mean, I could technically go and finish off Tonalico there, but truly, I don't have the course. I mean, well, I do. I could force it, but I'd rather sit on it until we get more reveals about Summer. Tries to bribe you. Yeah, quite literally. I still didn't finish leveling off some of the other units from yesterday either. I will go ahead and just throw some foes on her though. Where is she? Where's the sussy archer? Ah, that would explain why. Got myself your rope off of it, yep. Cad Summer's gonna murder you? Yeah, I know. And yeah, consider that, like, the doldrums that we went through to get Asriel, and then literally I just YOLO this, right? Like, right after that. So, I don't know what is going on with the, like, boom-bust nature of my gacha right now, but it's kind of hilarious. Okay, what else do I need to do? I guess we could talk about some of the updates. Oh, chat, I've unlocked the ability to do Artemis's update. Just funny. Anyways. I'm out of party cost. Gensai, you're getting parked for a bit because Artemis actually has upgrades, so I do need to bond her. Okay, so chat, a couple of things. Just housekeeping. We did have the Famitsu interview come out today. Trubs has already translated Mr. Two's portion. Behind the scenes, before he went to bed, Trubs at least gave me a little bit of an insight as to Part 2. Nasu does confirm the existence of Part 3. Part 3 is coming. So, like I said, they unfortunately did not talk about it at Anniversary proper. But I did say I was holding out hope that at least the Famitsu interview, they would talk about the future. And they did. Both Mr. 2 and Nasu talk about the future, at least a little bit. They don't have very much to say. They're their usual cheeky, coy selves, where they're not going to let it slip, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think we know how they are. They know how they are. So they, like, Nasu basically is just like, yeah, we'll see you for Part 3. Like, so that is him confirming. They also did say that they do have an end date in mind for the current arc, if you will, the Aftertime story arc, if you want to call it that. Nasu alleged that it's like a year, but I think, and part of the reason that like Mr. 2 didn't want to like say an actual date is the same reason that I think Nasu was like non-committal as to the date. Because with FGO, chat, how long did Lost Belt take? It took us like 8 years. So I think at this point, it's like they can aim for a year and then it won't happen. Like it'll end up taking a year and a half, or it'll end up taking 2 years. So I think that's the problem that they have. And I was talking with Trumps about this a little bit. It's frustrating for me, and I'm kind of fed up with them in that regard because it is so irresponsible for them as a game developer. They absolutely need to do things to help themselves out in that regard. And one of those is going to be putting the best foot forward that they possibly can, actually telling the community, hey, we know when it's coming, here's the date, and committing to it. I think because of the issue that they had with LB7 back in the day, where they promised a date and then they had to go over it and they had to basically commit Sudoku as they apologized to everybody for missing the date multiple times. I think because of that one scenario, they refuse to give us a date anymore. And I don't like that. I think that's bad. I think they actually need to go back to that because it shows that. And like, on one hand, it's kind of nice. They don't want to lie to us. On the other hand, it's absolutely indicative of the organizational and efficiency problems that they have behind the scenes at both Tight Moon and Lasingle. And I think that's a problem. I think that needs to be addressed. The fact that they cannot give us a date is an issue. But ultimately, it is at least nice to hear that. Nasu did also mention in the interview that he cannot doom and gloom anymore about the future. He literally admitted that the whole reason he was doing it was because he felt like it was called for the story to have impact. We kind of knew this, but it's nice to hear Nasu straight up own up to it. That, yes, part of the reason he was sounding so doomer all the time is because that is the effect he was trying to have for the story. So keep that in mind, that realistically Nasu's been acting all along in that regard. I still have my gripes about this. I like Nasu. He's a fantastic writer. He's, at this point, probably my favorite, if not one of my favorites. But while you have to respect him for committing to the bit, ultimately I have to say that the overall effect of him committing to the bit was negative. That him committing to the bit, he did it so well and he did it so hard that FGO lost some players because of it. Why did it lose players? Because players were convinced that the game was going to end. Players had said enough is enough, and even after Part 2 concluded, they said, you know what? It's been a great ride. I'm going to pack my bags. Now, this didn't happen to everybody. Obviously, you guys are still here, and we still care about FGO. But, like, I do think over the years, that commitment to that bit literally cost the game players. And I don't think that was good. I have to just go ahead and call him out for that. That was really stupid of him. Yes, did it make it feel impactful? Absolutely. Was it worth the cost? Truly, I don't believe it was. I think it would have just been nice, at least at one point, to hear him say. And I think that is why, if you guys go back to that, like, 9th and 10th Annie interview, like, you hear Nasu kind of crack a little bit, where he knows, and even he's a little bit worried, because I think Nasu probably like Mr. 2. So Mr. 2, when he's at the events, is out there talking to people. I'd be willing to bet that Nasu, without people really knowing who he is, talks to fans about FGO. And I think he probably heard it too. And that was the extreme fear that people had that the game was actually going to end. That the game was actually going to end of service. I was sitting here on the stream telling you guys for years that this would not be the case, and I knew it. But even I had my moments of being like, why the heck is he doing this? This is bad. This looks bad. This is not a good thing, and it's difficult to combat the naysayers and the doomers. So a little bit, that's where my aggravation is coming from. It's, we had to suffer so that Nasu could commit to that bit. And I think that's why, like I said, he got out there and probably heard from actual fans and realized, like, maybe I do need to kind of allay their fears some. Like, oh shit, they actually do think this is going to end. And that's why I think he started talking about the, like, well, if the fans really want it, maybe we'll consider something. So I really think that's what happened. And Mr. 2 talked about it in his segment as well, that, like, he apparently let it slip. So at the time, they were trying to really make it seem like the end is nigh, the end is coming, it is the end. And Mr. 2 got up there and was so hyped for 10th Annie that he asked everyone on the stage, like, are you ready for more FGO? That was a slip up on his part. He admitted to that in the interview, that he was not supposed to say that. He went off script. So even he cracked under the pressure of it. And I think, like, I don't think the community has anything to be upset about in that regard. Like in the sense of, we don't have to feel bad about our actions. Our actions were justifiable and understandable based off of the forward-facing and marketing approach that the developers were taking to the game. And the developers are responsible for that reaction. Like, I know there's a point where you have to be responsible for how you act as yourself, but the developers have to also be responsible for how they acted and what they tried to push onto the community. And that's where, like, again, like I said, for me, it was frustrating as a content creator, frustrating as a player, like, just as a fan of Fate and FGO. So I definitely wish that they had taken a different approach to this. Did it land really hard? Absolutely. But I think people like me that have been around for a long time were able to see through Nasu's bullshit at least some. It's a problem, though, when you have people that haven't been around as long, that aren't as familiar, and you have other people that are just wanting to see FGO fail, that are praying for its downfall, and just sitting there constantly dooming and glooming the game. And it's not good. I think that's the problem that we have. I do think FGO will be in a better place. They talked about the fact that we're going to get updated to, or that we are updated to Unreal 6, and that apparently they had to do double the work for, like, they essentially, when they were developing an event, they talked about how they had to do the event in both Unreal 5 and Unreal 6 simultaneously. That just sounds like nightmare fuel. That never should have been the case. So ultimately, I hope that we are headed for a bigger and brighter future. I hope that the developers actually do a part 6. I hope that they, like I've said before, I hope that they make it a soft reset. They actually create a new onboarding point for new players, and I hope that it actually really helps them out. Not gonna lie, even if the main story ended, I didn't think the game itself would end. It prints too much money. I'm gonna be brutally honest here with you guys right now. If the main story truly ended, FGO would die. Would it die right now, right this second? No. But would it die? Yes. Yes, like 100%. I can say that completely, like, with every ounce of my being, that would be the case. Why? Because if the story ends, what future content do you have? And if you have a question about the ongoing content, are you going to then spend money? And if you're not going to spend money, how are they going to keep the lights on? How are they going to keep developing the game? How are they going to keep paying the devs? The game dies. It is literally inevitable. You have to come up with something to keep people around. You have to. Story is the reason that people are here. And I know there's some people that are like, I play for gameplay, not for story, blah, 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 blah. Most of those people, I'll be honest. Chat, raise your hand if you're in the audience tonight and you play the game purely for the gameplay of it and not the story. And I'm asking this completely unobjectively. I just actually want to know, because I have a theory. And I'll tell you what the theory is after chat answers. So is there anybody that plays just for the gameplay? I have various reasons. Yeah, like I am asking from the standpoint of like, sure, some people are gonna say like, hey, I play a little bit for the game, play a little bit for the story, play a little bit for the characters, like yada yada yada. Chat, I don't care. The thing that I'm getting at here is truly, I used to know people that only played for the gameplay. They played for meta. They literally just wanted to flex on people. Every single person I know like that has quit the game. They are gone. Do you know why? Because over time they just that sort of person's not actually vested in the game. They just literally move on to the next big thing and try to like flex on people on that next big thing. That's what they do. They just hop from game to game. So again, I truly don't believe that there are many people left. I'm not going to say there's none, but there's probably not very many. They are very much 1 in 100, 1 in 50, something like that players, as opposed to the vast majority of the players that do actually have multiple considerations and things that keep them playing. If you start cutting out story, you start really just killing the lifeblood of the game. That's your issue. Flex some MiHoYo games a bit? Probably, honestly. I play for the waifus, but there needs to be more story for the waifus to be made. Exactly. The Type Moon Fate Enjoyers will be here forever. Best story gacha by far. Yeah, and I think that's the issue is it's not that like people wouldn't continue to play the game if they didn't develop story. It's what it would immediately cut off is people's desire to spend money on it. People would say, "Oh, there's no upcoming content." Well, then the game's not getting developed really. I'm not spending any more money on this. It was a fun ride, blah 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 blah. And they'll come up with any excuse not to spend money. And that's fine. You don't really need an excuse not to spend money. The point being, though, that if there's no money, how do you keep the lights on? How do you keep the servers open? You can't. That's the issue at play. So ultimately, at the end of the day, they can't do that. They have to keep going with story, at least if they want the game to continue to thrive. Otherwise, the game eventually dies out. Does it die by falling off a cliff? No. But it does die a slow death. That's the issue. You will just sit there and see as it keeps trending downward and downward and downward over time, losing more and more of the people for them never to return. So, do I think they'll actually do this? No. No, I think it's always been understood to me that they would continue the story. And my question was how? Not will they, but how? How will they continue? What is a part 3 going to look like? Is Nasu involved in the part 3? I think based off that interview, we can now conclusively say that Nasu is involved with part 3. That's good. That's a great sign. For anyone that's thinking that I'm like dooming right now, believe me, I'm not. If anything, I'm more or less just complaining about the state of things and how they let it get to this point. But truly, the future is bright in that regard. Part 3 is coming. Nasu is involved. And so now, instead of a how, it's more of a what. What will be part 3? And what's it going to be about? That's really the only questions we have. My hope is that they do some things that they need to do to actually help stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, Steve? Okay, so wait, so have I already done... I've technically already done all this, chat. I'm going to, for the sake of brevity and time, create some blue apples. And then I will be right back. I want to get myself some more water so that, you know, as we go over Asriel here in a second, as we start talking about stuff, that I actually don't lose my voice. So give me a quick second. Okay. So the past, present, future thing going on now in JP 2.5. Yes, that's the best way to put it. It is our in-between chapter. And that's what I was trying to say is that if you guys remember, we had Lost Belt and then we had Ordeal Call. A lot of people assumed Ordeal Call was 2.5. Ordeal Call was not. Lost Belt was part 2. Ordeal Call was an extension of that. Truly, Ordeal Call was like, hey, what about the extra classes? After Time is 2.5. Or at least the closest thing that we can really say. It is a bridge. It is a middle point, a segue for us to get to whatever part 3 is. Okay, chat. Let's talk shop. So I did hear as well in the Mr. 2 interview, they talked about the fact that he, what was the word I was gonna say? That he had, like, mentioned that they had managed to touch, like, every single potential servant. Okay. Sorry, I was just checking something. Alright. So yeah, so again, now with like these animation updates and stuff, they have touched every single one. I do think that lends to, like Avalon was saying yesterday, that they've never touched Ibuki. So that does probably mean it's probably an Ibuki buff at the end for our 5-star Saber. But let's talk about at least our strengthenings that have occurred. Actually, Avalon, I don't know if you can get me a like quick down and dirty like coup alter damage numbers versus let's say like Kentucky and Lilith and Castoria Berserker. I don't know if he's still lurking around, but I'll start here. Don't have coup numbers. I knew it. I knew it. He's never calculated them, chat. Shame him. Shame him. No, I'm just kidding. Funny, he has everyone else's, just not coup alters. He passed Kentucky in the raw category. That I did hear. I know Trubs was looking at a number earlier today and was talking about it. That's kind of why I want to see the actual... Okay, so first off, chat, we are currently going through the strengthenings, as you guys know. Where's my strengthening? Where's... God, there's so many things happening on JP. Please stop. Show me other campaigns. No. No. There we go. Serpent strengthening quests. Alright. So, again, like day one here, we had Kijo Koyo and Phantom of the Opera. Already just right off the rip, this is huge for Kijo. I don't think it's insane to state that, like, Kijo Koyo was technically a bad unit. And what I mean when I say technically, it's like, it's not like you couldn't use her, but in a game where, like, nearly everybody has either a massive niche or, like, a lot of charge or, like, a lot of survivability, Kijo Koyo had nothing. She had none of those things. She was a pedestrian, almost like, I'm going to say like year 2 or year 3 designed unit that wasn't given any way to really stand out. And so they actually come in here and they change her first skill and they give her charge. Right there just helps her out so much. 30% extra charge. Now you can at least utilize her with like a 50% CE and mana loading, or maybe like some support. Have her take out like a single enemy in a wave, or have her work a little bit better just in the sense of like having some capacity to get back to an NP a little bit faster. So to me, this was a pretty big one just for that. But it's also a crit star bomb and increases her critical damage for 3 turns by 30%. Is it like game changing for her? No, but it literally digs her out of the grave and reminds people that she exists. So for that, I think it's good. I actually really like that they did that for her. Phantom of the Opera is also another interesting one, and it's so funny to see how over the years Phantom has just I don't know what the word is, like he's gone from 0 to hero. He truly used to be one of the worst low stars in the game, to the point that his damage was so bad that you were better off using a Berserker than using him, even against Riders. And that's not a good thing. And it's not just any Berserker. It was better to use literally Spartacus, a 1-star Berserker, than to use Phantom of the Opera for damage reasons. Phantom's niche was never that. And, well, I'm not going to say like Phantom's like some crazy good unit or anything like that now. They've at least done a ton of work for him. And he gets an upgrade to his first skill. But as you guys can see, they've now upgraded his entire kit. He has Party Arts Performance, Darkness Battlefield. He has the Charm adjustment. It's not 100%, but it is at least compensated by being a buff removal skill. And now instead, he basically increases things against Charm enemies So he gives the entire party a P mod, a power mod against charm, and also gives himself 30% charge. That's huge. And on top of that right here, he's increasing the party's critical damage and gaining crit stars every single turn for 3 turns, up to 15. So this is a much, much better improvement over Innocent Monster. And again, you can kind of see they've really just been trying to get rid of Innocent Monster over time, because I think they just know it's a bad skill for what it is. And I think that's where they're trying to come back in and give these characters actually good buffs. Tesla, thank you for the 84. And Funny and AK, thank you for the follow. AK, did you accidentally click the unfollow? But the point being, I really do like this buff for Phantom. I think Avalon kind of hit the nail on the head when he said a lot of these buffs just look like they're going to be charge buffs for people. And it makes so much sense, because it's absolutely just what the meta is for the game. It's what it's been for years. And I know people have lamented the part of like, well, not everyone should have charge. There was a time where I agreed with that statement, but I absolutely disagree with that at this point. When 90% of the units in the game have charge, if you're one of the 10% that doesn't, you're just left out. You're just weak. You are literally left behind by the devs at that point. It's one thing to make that argument that not every unit in the game should have charge when only like 30% have it or 40% have it. But the second we cross the line to like 50%, that's when this just started going downhill. So it's pretty much to the point that, yeah, you have to give units charge for them to stay competitive. It's the only way. And I think, again, it's just a general usability thing. It opens up a lot of compositions for them to work in 1 turn, 2 turn, and 3 turn scenarios. So not having charge is just a hamstring. It's something that's holding you back. And that's why I was again saying that I won't be surprised if like the Saber buff ends up being like Fergus or something, because Fergus truly just could use charge. So it's interesting to see, and it does make me wonder what they're going to do long term. Both Musashi still need charge. Well, okay, so at least Musashi has MP gain. I think OG Musashi is a little bit worse off for that, but OG Musashi being a single target, like boss killing unit, doesn't necessarily need the charges, right? There's at least an argument to be made that she works better there. Berserker Musashi hits like a Mack truck. So giving her charge, I fear for other Berserkers if they do that. But that's just because I think both the Musashis have standout kits and actually deal good damage, compared to like a unit like Phantom, like we're talking about here, where historically Phantom has not dealt good damage, right? Phantom needs all the help he can get just to see viability, just to see usage and get put into team comps by a player. I think that's what we're kind of seeing. There's so much focus on like the low stars and the less popular characters here because they have been neglected. Like I said, I think that's why Mr. 2 talked about it in the interview. It's they really want to find a way for people to actually like find uses for them. They want to make sure that they're actually going to be somebody that is useful to the player base, because otherwise your low stars are getting left behind. Content keeps going up in difficulty. Like literally, we just did the Azrael challenge that was a 100-star node, chat. Did we use 1 stars and 2 stars there? Yes, but why did we? Because there was an arbitrary 80 cost restriction. Otherwise, would we have? Maybe. Maybe not. It really just depends. But what keeps the low stars relevant are things like party cost restrictions and things like niche kits that no higher level can replace easily. So things like a Rash killing himself, Yeah, we have a 5-star that does that, but why would you take a 5-star that does it? That's such a huge party cost. Therein lies the issue. So I think it's important to keep the low stars relevant because they're not going to compete really in damage. We know that. Even if you grail like a Rash up to 120, is he going to do good damage? Yeah, he'll do decent damage. Is he going to do more damage than like Gil? No, he won't. That's the thing, right? Like, I think when you start comparing this, that's where everything begins to fall apart because obviously you can enhance your favorites as much as you want and you can make them viable, but it's not fair to expect people to have to sit there and like 120 their low star units to keep them viable. Truly, they just have to find other ways of doing it. You should make adding the restriction of party quest equal more rewards. I'm okay with stuff like that, but keep in mind that party cost is there for a strategic balance reason as well. If there is truly no cost, what are you guys going to do? You guys are going to use all 5 stars. All 5-star CEs, all 5-star units. Why? Because you can. The only reason that you can't is party cost. So at that point, if party cost didn't exist or was trivialized, you would never use the 4 stars. You would never use the 3 stars. You would never use the 2 stars, and so on. That's the issue. They know that. Like, when party cost ceases to be an issue, then yeah, use Tutankhamun instead of using Arash. Who cares if you're using a 5-star that kills himself at that point? Alright, next we get Crotch Clown. Crotch Clown's an interesting one, and I've talked about this one with you guys before. Crotch Clown is low star. He has a niche. What is his niche? Dad, if you don't know it, you should by now. I've talked about it many times because I definitely don't like this character. Buff block 3 times to an enemy that doesn't have a turn limitation is really goated in a lot of ways. It doesn't mean that like you have to use Mephisto whenever you need buff block, but it does mean that Mephisto has a very good use. Okay? And sure enough, you guys can look, they did buff his innocent monster and turned it into impotent rage. But now they've come back in and they've given him yet another buff. His shit-ass witchcraft here that just had an 80% maximum gets changed. Now it scales up to 100% if you dare lure it. But they also added in by giving him 30% charge and a power mod to the party against cursed enemies. Why is this important? Because chat, let's be honest. Are you going to take Mephisto for a drain stall comp? No. No, you're not. Are you going to take Mephisto for damage? No. No, you're not. You're going to take Mephisto because you either need the buff block, or now, because, yes, he can deal damage, but he can amp somebody else's damage. That's truly what they've done here. They've expanded his usefulness. It's a good buff for him. So, and why do I say, like, you're not going to take him for damage? It's like, well, Cad, maybe you need a 3-star. Because even if we need a 3-star, we're taking Ku. Ku Caster just shits on Mephisto. It's not even close. Ku Caster shits on every 4-star in existence too, and some of the 5-stars. So they kind of had a problem when they gave Ku that buff. And looking back, I think they've realized if you can't beat him, join him type deal, they're not going to try to make Mephisto out damage him. They're instead just going to try to give Mephisto more uses. And we see that across the board. They know they can't necessarily make another unit compete without just super buffing them, and they don't want to super buff everybody. Now, this is the one we were talking about this yesterday. I'm gonna just be real with y'all. I completely understand how this sort of thing happens. I think a lot of people are how should I put it? Upsetty. And I can understand why. Amadeus is yet another arts buffer that has gotten buffed again. Why? I'll be honest, I don't know. Did Amadeus need this buff? No. No, they had already buffed his second skill, and he already had a intended use as just a crit star generator right there. Plus, let's be honest, there are plenty of units in the game right now that just shit stars. So maybe that took a little bit of Amadeus's usefulness out of the mix. But even with the old version of this, he still had a party arts buff of 44%. That is pretty damn insane. Yes, it was limited to one turn. But that's the whole point. Mozart's original intention was as what we'd like to call a one-pump chump. Where my bro would just get rotated in and do his job. And then he would either be done and that was the end of the node, or you would rotate him out, or you would get him killed. That was it. He was there for one turn. And in that one turn, he was exceedingly good. So why did they do this? Why did they give Mozart party charge and party arts? Because they wanted to keep him relevant and able to compete with, frankly, some of the better options out there. We had this talk about, like, maybe Mozart is actually just the best low star arts unit at this point for, like, supports. And I think it's debatable. We still have, like, Shufu. We still have Paracelsus. I do think he's a little bit better than Paracelsus at the current point in time. But they at least provided us with a little bit of a restriction as to his capability. 3 times 3 turns does mean that he's a little bit limited, where you can't just go ham with arts cards, especially if you're not going to clean clear. So I do like this. They didn't give him a full 3 turns, but let's be honest, if we're just like looping and we're clean clearing everything, this is such a like non-starter, we don't even care. This may as well be 3 turns, right? So it is very weird. I do think this does make him competitive with Caskill. Caskill is still probably a little bit better, but it is somewhat close. I think at points like that, you start looking at the fact that Caskill has a damage dealing NP, and so he can actually fit a little bit more into a composition as someone that can take out a wave. Mozart can't do that. But if we start considering NPs, Mozart at least can apply defense down and stuff to enemies, so it's a thing. It's just, I mean, I'll be honest, Mozart's NP could drastically use an interlude, but let's not get into that. Thank you, Evelyn. I gotta be honest, I don't really know why they felt the need to do this one. It's not like Mozart truly needed it. It does help keep him relevant, but I don't feel like Mozart was in a bad position, especially as a 1-star support buffer. He was still really good for what he was. But yeah, I can understand why people are a little bit upset about this if they're in the Tamamo camp. Mozart can now be combined with Paracelsus, Shufu, and we never even have to go higher than a 3-star. We don't need Castoria depending on the unit. Heck, you want to go up to 4-star? You have Helena. You have Ku. You have any number of these other like hybrid options. Sorry, not Ku, Gil. You have any number of these other hybrid options. So it's like Arts just is really rich with options. It's really in a good spot in that regard. But I think as we start to look at some of our other units out there, it does begin to call into questions like, why did we make the 1-star this strong? Is he going to actually replace people? Probably not. But it's still, like, kind of crazy to me that they've done this. Alright, this is the toolbox of team making. Yep. I think at this point, there is no argument that for a new player starting out that Arts is the best team comp to build. And the reason why is simply this. It's you have access to the full capabilities of a team comp very quickly without the need for worrying about, like, gotcha RNG. I just wish they released some new low-star servants. Yeah. Well, I'm going to use the new Bond Grail on Cayenne. It's actually not a terrible idea, honestly. But yeah, I look at this and I'm like, what are you doing, guys? Like, yes, it's a nice buff. Yes, it's great for Mozart, but all this does is just put pressure on the other units out there. So it's definitely weird. If you're a unit that is in need of a buff, you're feeling this. Because Mozart didn't need this buff. So it's good. It's great for him. You have a new low-star option you guys can use. But truly, balance-wise, I don't get their choice there. Next up, we have Leonidas. Leonidas has, again, gotten some attention over time. Obviously, he got his third skill added with a strengthening. Wait, which one did we get? Was it this one? Yes, it's this one. Anyways, he got his battle continuation buffed. Basically got the increase to the party's attack whenever his guts got popped, and they kind of beefed up his guts a little bit better as well, since it was 1 time 5 turns. I think the interesting part here is that they left it still 1 time 5 turns, but they increased the HP and lowered the cooldown. But then they also gave the effect for only 3 turns. That being said, he now gets Pride of the Rearguard EX, where originally it was his taunt and NP gain for himself. Now, it is basically going to be that, plus an increase to the party's attack by 20% for 3 turns, and an increase to the party's attack by 0 to 30% based on their lower HP remaining, 100 to 0. So it's percentile for 3 turns. It increases the party's critical damage for 3 turns and gains critical stars. So it's literally just, boom, we've beefed up the skill, we've given him more capability. Because, I'll be honest, short of people, like, using Leonidas to, like, quickly get dispatched and removed from the party, Leonidas has struggled over time, I feel like, to be somewhat relevant outside of that precise use. The party buster buff definitely helped, but it was not the biggest deal. And that's where you see they're trying to lean further and further into making him a little bit more of a buffer. And I think they realized that the guts buff there was a little bit too conditional. Truly, though, one of the best things about him is that he has a taunt. That is absolutely one of the things people like to use, but unfortunately, it's still only 1 turn. So just be a little bit careful with how you employ it. You could definitely try to put a taunt C on him, but let's be honest, most people don't have taunt Cs at this point unless they've gone out and gotten them. And it's a little bit weird in that regard, but I still like the buff overall for him, but it does just kind of make him fill this niche as like a, hey, I'm gonna die and buff the party. So it works, but it's not great, but at least it's something, right? And then we get Coup Alter. Now, Coup Alter, as you guys can see, had also the generic battle continuation. They came back in and they made it stackable with other guts, which is chef's kiss. I love the fact that they do that because I think that's been a major problem for a lot of guts usages. Ever since they did it to Herc way back in the day, it's been a big deal that they did it for Herc. It immediately, though, created an arms race for any Guts user. It's like, yes, why can't we have that too? Because Guts being unique and not being able to overwrite or at least like function alongside another Guts was a problem. So making this a thing just does increase his overall survivability capability here. But now they've added in a 30% charge skill. This is going to help him out too. This, again, can be paired with a mana loading skill, but I'll be honest, for a lot of people, they probably won't unlock that append on him, but maybe now they have a reason to. Either way, it's going to help him get to that NP or help him get back to it, so it's still a nice thing. They've also added a 3-turn self-steroid of 30%, so that's going to increase his damage capability, something that I think people would argue he was maybe a little bit lacking in before. He definitely got the NP interlude that helped that out a bunch, but for just general carding, everyone kind of knew Ku Alter was a little bit more of a cockroach, and even Herc could kind of outdamage him at points. But now they've increased his own damage against enemies that are lawful alignment for 3 turns. So again, here's a 3-turn power mod. It's going to affect his NP. It's going to affect his carding. So this is just a great overall buff. And that's why I asked Avalon to kind of send me some stuff. Just so that I could see. But as you guys can see, so we have Ku Alter here with 2 times Koyan over on level 100 cranking. This is essentially going to be his 3-turn damage. Why? Because you can 3-turn with him now. Obviously, this requires mana loading, but it is the way it is. Actually, yes, it still requires mana loading. I had to think about that for a second. You guys can see damage numbers here are pretty respectable in all reality. Yes, it's single target, but it's not bad, and the lawful niche does actually add something, especially considering you can stack it with Koyan's Man and get a little bit more firepower there. Taking a look at his 1-turn damage here, though, that's where I think you're going to see a little bit more viability, as I think you will see a lot of people try to run him with something like Black Grail or some other like high damage, high octane equivalent, because Ku is a bit of a cockroach. He's going to be hard to bring down, so why the heck not? Why the heck not take the extra time and try to amp his damage as much as you possibly can? And there with that, you guys could see, boom, his one-shot damage with a better C. Black Grail is going to make a ton of a difference. Already exceeds how much it could be there by a 3rd wave. Adding in Man, adding in Lawful, and the combination of both, and you've got a single target that's dealing over 1 million damage and is a Berserker, so that's just solid, good damage. Avalon did send me Lilith's link, so just for comparative purposes, as you guys can see, Lilith's 1-turn damage here is lower than him. The difference there is Lilith does have the power mods and the super effective damage that she can kind of get online pretty easily. So I don't really think it's gonna be a big deal. Like those of you guys that have Lilith, you can sit pretty and fine knowing that your Lilith will be very capable. This is the same argument that I know was used back for like Lilith versus Castoria. I don't have the numbers handy for me currently at the current point in time, but yeah, Lilith can kind of outscale Castoria depending, but Castoria can also outscale Lilith depending on the situation. So truly, just for comparative sake, I feel like this gives you guys a good idea of where Ku Alter now sits. He is now a very legitimate damage dealing option, whereas before he maybe wasn't as much of one. But now that he's had 2 steroids added to him and a charge skill, plus already having his NP interlude, Ku Alter is just in a much, much better spot. He does actually stand out a little bit more from the likes of Herc. And Avalon just sent me the Kentucky stuff, so here you guys go. You guys can see 759 here on Ku Alter for NP1 at 1 shot, 754 for Kentucky. So for 1-shot damage, they're still pretty comparable. For 3-turn environments, it's definitely a thing. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to what niches are at play, and that's actually good. That's the way things should be. We want to see parity where if you have a unit it's dealing like this much damage and this much damage, but instead, this one doesn't have a niche, this one gets a slight niche, and this one gets a big niche. So that, depending on the circumstances of what you're facing, one unit being the best is not the same throughout. Instead, yeah, maybe you have a good fallback that'll always be good, but if a niche comes into play, that other unit's better. That's parity. That's balance. That's how things should be. So I like seeing them approach back to this sort of thing. It actually matters that that's a thing. They really just made it more modern. Yep. Lilith also overlaps with him on the lawful. That she does. Because every raid was divine, chaotic, or threat to humanity. And this is why I told people, and I'm not saying this to like bash Lilith, because I know people like Lilith. It's just, there were people out there that are like, oh my god, Lilith is so much better than Castoria. I'm just going for Lilith. I'm going to skip Castoria. And it's like, okay, you can do that. I'm not going to regret having rolled Castoria, where she just is good. And yeah, maybe sometimes other units can outdamage her. But man, is she relevant, like, all the freaking time. Like, everything that we face, everything that is a major boss is usually divine, chaotic, or a threat to humanity. It's usually one of those niches. So she's always been good for damage and good for defense. So it is the way it is. And that doesn't mean Lilith's bad either. Lilith absolutely can just crank damage and still has a decent kit to boot. So it is the way it is. Am I listening to my own playlist? We are currently listening to my own playlist, but that's only because chat has not song requested. Now with Arthur and Azrael, we got more anti-beast niches. Yes. So, whoop. Hate that pop-up. So yeah, again, that's where we currently stand right now as to our stuff. We are currently on day 3. We have had the Coup Altar and the Leonidas buffs. Tomorrow we are dealing with a 3-star Saber. Could be Jilda Ray Saber, could be Fergus. If it's not one of those two, dear lord, who the heck are they buffing? Because they probably don't need it. 3-star caster, I mean, there's numerous people that it could be. But we'll just have to wait and see, because at this point, like, they already touched Mephisto. I doubt they're touching him again. Day 5, we have a 5-star ruler. We talked about some possibilities. I know who I hope it is. I have 2 possibilities that I really hope for who that is, but I don't know. At this point, it could be just about anything. My hope, truly, though, is that it's OG Janu. She really needs one of her skills just absolutely fixed. It is so atrociously bad still to this day. 3-star assassin. I honestly don't know. Jekyll buff? I would hope it is. Jekyll just is really bad. Like, it's to the point that I don't even root for Jekyll to get it, because I kind of just hope they just leave Jekyll alone at this point. But yeah, him getting the animation update, it's very likely to be him. To be Hamakusa again, please no. 5-star Lancer. Clearly, this is another Lartoria buff. No, in all seriousness, this better be Vitra. Vitra, just, they absolutely missed the mark on buffing her earlier. So my hope is that it's that one. We'll see. It could be a lot of things actually on this one, but my real hope is Reacher. 2-star Berserker, that better be Eric. If it's not Eric, I don't know. And I want to, again, call out to the fact that Mr. 2 said that in the Famitsu interview that now after this, like, everybody that hadn't been touched has been touched. So Eric has never been touched, so I'm gonna say it's like 99% odds that this is Eric. Like, truly, he has not gotten anything. Skylar, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. And Ern, I don't think I thanked you earlier, or Tesla. Thank you guys. I do appreciate it. Rulidan's probably Metatron. I mean, it could be, but I doubt they're gonna buff Metatron so soon. We'll see. 5-star Saber. Honestly, OG Saber actually could be it, but I really... I like the idea of it being Ibuki now because Ibuki has not received a buff. And based off of that hint that Mr. 2 gave, I do believe it's going to be that. Dioscuri is another Dark Horse candidate. Dioscuri has had an upgrade, but they truly could at this point just use an NP interlude. 3-star Lancer, as everybody knows, is just, it's OG-ku again. Because clearly he can't just solo the entire game, and they need to buff him once more to have, like, actual, like server admin powers. Give him 100% charge, yes. John Ruler still has the Cope skill 3. Yeah, let me show chat what I'm talking about. Jareen, yes. Here's why I say it, chat. Has this skill been buffed for her? Yes. Has this skill been buffed for her? Yes. Has this skill been buffed for her? No. Chat, words cannot describe how astronomically bad this is. It doesn't work on, like, half the bosses in the game. And I want you all to understand, I have this skill, Lord. Okay? And even Lord, this skill is bad. Now... here's the other thing it could be if it's Janu. Do I think they'll do it? No. But I would love it. Chat. John needs a second NP interlude. And you're like, what do you mean, Cad? No. Allow me to demonstrate. Here's John's NP the way it used to be. Here's John's NP the way it is now. Now it cleanses... and the stun component's gone. But, you know, if you guys were really sharp-eyed there, you paid attention to something. You know what didn't change? No, the overcharge didn't change. Nor did the NP level effect change. John got an NP interlude. And this piss-poor defense percentage never changed. So, yeah, she got an NP interlude. It was a half interlude. It's one of the only NP interludes to ever happen in the game that didn't increase the actual effect of the NP itself. Like, the actual NP level effect. Every other one that we've gotten pretty much has done it. So it's like, wow. Hopeness Johanna, she's been in need for one for a while and never got a buff. I still use Johanna just as another art support, but if they wanted to buff her, I wouldn't be upset. Hot garbage third skill and half-assed MP interlude. Yeah, and I need you guys to understand, it wasn't too long ago that John looked like this. So, yeah. What would you give Janu? Honestly, I think one of the things that she actually truly needs to be effective is they almost need to give her the Amakusa treatment, and they need to They're not going to do it because of this, because they did it, but I would have loved to have seen them give her, like, self-charge per turn or something. Either way, they need to remove the servant requirement for this, and it would be nice if it had some kind of other component, like, I don't know, a drain, another defense down. An MP seal. Buff from over resistance would be great. John carried daily so hard in the first 3 months. Yep. But CAD, the lore. Look, I've already lored it. It doesn't matter. It's a sunk cost for me. She's a saber face. It had to happen, chat. Okay, chat. Let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend. Azazel. Sorry, I'm joking. Azrael. So I rolled for Azrael. I at least did his trial quest. Got to use him there to figure it out. They did, by the way, talk about the fact that this Azrael is not voiced by Joji Nakata. If you want to know why, go check out the Famitsu interview. They do explain it. But, yeah, this is definitely an interesting thing. I am surprised that they made him the anniversary servant. I think this was kind of, I'm not going to say an afterthought, but I don't think that they had a big thing necessarily planned and like, who can we make the anniversary servant? And they're just like, yeah, let's go with this. You get her enemy buff strip on skill 3, that'd be great. With regards to this, Hassan, aka Azrael here, is yet another single target assassin. We've actually had a couple come out over the years that have really pushed the envelope, considering single target assassin was a relatively, like, low population class in the game for a long time. Oh, hello. Yeah, you're fine. Thank you. That was delicious. And yes, I actually do need that. Okay. Chat, we just got Kiki's delivery service. As she brought me some popcorn and some tea for my voice. Okay. So, back to where I was. You've been waiting for that one? I actually haven't. That one just popped into my head. Like popcorn. I don't know why, chat. I have literally been punny all day today. Anyways. Hassan is another single target assassin. He at least comes into us in a niche. Of course, my headset's dying. Hold on. Didn't feel hyped for him because I knew jack about him. Those of us that have played on JP at least had encountered him in the grand battles, so we knew a little bit about him. He definitely is going to feature prominently from this point on. And I'm debating whether or not I talk to you guys about, like, what he actually is, right? But I won't. It is talked about some in the Famitsu interview. Grand Assassin, better timing, yeah. Okay, so Hassan, like I said, comes into us at least in a niche that's not well populated. He's single target arts. He literally is something that at least, like, I'm not going to say that people necessarily have in spades, but they're not necessarily going to have, like, the best options for it. If you have someone like Kama, obviously damage comparisons are going to be a thing, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But right now, let's go over Hassan's kit, just to talk about his uniqueness and whether or not you guys think you need him. So, right off the bat, something that's going to jump out to me, more than anything, is that Hassan has a really good attack stat for an assassin. Assassins historically do not have good attack stats. And you might be thinking, 11.8 is not that much, Cad. This is knocking on the door to 12k. 12k is a good attack stat. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of assassins that reach this number. His HP, on the other hand, is a little bit anemic. Not going to probably have to worry about that too much. His death rate is 52.2%. That is hilariously bad. And the reason why I say hilariously bad is we'll talk about it when we get to his passives. In stages 1 and 2, he is male. In stage 3, he is unknown. So you can exploit which ascension he's in for certain buffs. Like, for instance, do you not want him to get affected by certain things that only affect males? Put him in stage 3. Interestingly enough, he is a loved one for Brynhildr. He's a servant, a 7-night servant, weak to Intima Elish. He's lawful evil alignment. But nothing else here really jumps out at us. Interestingly enough, stages 1 and 2 he's Hominidae and Humanoid, and stage 3 he's immune to Pigify. So another way to get around things. Granted, you probably shouldn't be taking him against Cersei to begin with. His deck is double Buster, double Arts, which is at least a little bit of a departure. This is the antithesis of what we would consider to be a assassin deck. It is the polar opposite. Normally, assassin decks are very quick heavy. King Hassan has always been a gorilla with triple Buster, but now essentially Azrael's coming to us as double Buster, double Arts. All the hit counts here are at least good. Nothing really to worry about. Looking at his active skills, his first skill here increases his own attack by 30%, debuff immunity 1 time 3 turns, gut status 1 time 3 turns, and self-evasion for 2 attacks 3 turns. So he's got pretty much the survivability that like King Hassan does if you're trying to compare him. He's also got the ability to charge his own gauge, where King Hassan maybe needs to trigger it with Guts procs. Azrael's just getting 80% charge just by pressing a button. This means if you have, obviously, supports with him, he's going to get to 100% very easily. Or, if you have mana loading, he's going to be able to just go 0 to 100 turn 1. The downside, I think, here is that it's 80% as one block. So, it's very much in the use it or lose it category. And that's something you're going to have to worry about of like, hey, what if his refund's a little bit too good? What if I'm wasting some of this charge? Whereas maybe if it was split up between 2 different skills, I'd be able to use it a little bit more efficiently. But it just is the way it is. Unfortunately, the skill is on an 8-turn cooldown, so you're not getting back to it very fast. However, his second skill is going to help with that. It will have a different effect depending on what you do. So if he targets someone other than himself, it will reduce his own skill cooldowns by 2, increase his own arts performance for 3 turns, and then grant the ally that he targeted gut status 1 time 3 turns, and increase their attack for 3 turns, and charge their NP gauge. So he's also going to be useful as a little bit of a pseudo support in that regard. This is just going to make him flexible. If he targets himself, he's still going to reduce his own skill cooldowns by 2. So that 8-turn cooldown from before is already immediately 6. increase his own arts performance for 3 turns still, and then increase his own critical damage for 3 turns, as well as gain critical stars. Here are the values on that skill. You guys can see he gets up to 50% there at rank 10, and you probably will want to lure this just because this could potentially be a targetable charge skill and does actually impact his damage output. But still, this skill also on a 7-turn cooldown. His third skill here is his uniqueness. It has a 500% chance to inflict thirst. That's right. Asriel's a thirsty boy. So, his thirst for death is going to be a unique status for all enemies that counts down every turn. Think of it like Doom, as you would see it in like a JRPG or something like that, where once it counts down, it has a 100% chance to instant kill the enemy. The issue at play here is, we know the way instant kill works in this game. Nothing's ever actually 100% unless it's like a low ranking or like low rarity creature. Obviously things like bosses and other servants are much harder to death proc, so don't treat 100% as it's guaranteed to kill. It is not. It just means it has a good chance of killing depending on the circumstances. If, however, it fails to instant kill, you're still not up shit's creek. You're gonna get a 500% chance to reduce their defense by 50% for 1 turn after the end of that countdown. The issue is, again, it takes 3 turns to count this down. This is definitely gonna be a little bit more of a like challenge aspect to this. It's also going to inflict terror to the enemy for 1 time 3 turns. Sorry, all enemies, not just one. Which, when it procs, will have a chance to stun them. It's also going to inflict the regeneration debuff for 3 turns to all enemies that reduces their defense by 20% every turn for 3 turns. So again, this is going to keep stacking and stacking and stacking, and then at the end, they're going to get a 50% 1 turn. So by the end of that, you're looking at 110% defense down that Hassan could have applied to any number of units that are in the party. That's terrifying if you're an enemy, and something you definitely are going to have to watch out for if you're up against, essentially here, Asriel. It's also going to reduce their instant kill resistance by 50% every turn for 3 turns on top of that. So, by the end of that 3 turns, his chances are going to be sky high for death procking. That's why I said you're going to have to be very careful if you ever go up against this as a player. You're going to need to find ways to cleanse those negative effects. Otherwise, you're going to be in a really, really bad state. But, again, this is good. This means Hassan's going to hit really hard. Hassan's going to have a really good chance of death procking people. That's probably not going to work against a boss. Probably not going to work against a servant. But for everyone else, it's just going to get rid of pesky and annoying enemies that are maybe accompanying the boss. Or it's still going to at least allow you to have a window of opportunity to hit the boss really hard. Now we get to look at his passives. He gets Presence Concealment, C++, Magic Resistance, E++, Independent Action, B, and Protection from Faith, which increases his own debuff resistance by 30%, recovers his own HP by 500 every turn. This will literally just offset the negative effects of a Black Grail or something like that. Increase his own defense by 10% and increase his own attack by 10%. This is going to offset the negative aspects of being an assassin. And then he has a unique one down here called Organizer. It grants himself instant kill immunity. So his death rate may be like 55%. Doesn't matter, he's immune to being death procced. It's also going to increase his own charm resistance by 100%, which is very good for a male, because this is not conditional as to which ascension he's in. And again, while that's not going to guarantee that he resists a charm, it's going to make it very hard to land a charm on him. It's also going to grant himself a debuff on attack buff that whenever he attacks with an arts card, of which he has 2 in his deck and 1 for his MP, that he will reduce an enemy's instant kill resistance additionally by 30%, which activates first. This means that, obviously, it will activate before his MP goes out. But similarly, if you want to increase his odds of death procking, you can pre-card his NP with arts cards. Wouldn't necessarily be the best case scenario. I would say only do that if you're either sure that it's going to death proc or you know that you don't need those cards after the NP to help him get back again. But still, that's really, really nice to have, and it does give you options. His append skills are the same as always, but we do gotta have a special shout out to his third append skill, which is Anti-Beast. It's one of the only ones in the game at the current point in time, and so this is something to pay attention to. This may indicate that Hassan's going to potentially be useful against upcoming Beast fights, and at least past prior Beast fights for newer players that are going through them. Definitely an interesting thing there. Again, his mana loading is going to absolutely be a great one. Same thing with skill reloading, since we already know he's going to be dabbling in skill cooldown reductions. And for those of you guys worried about the Mozart buff out there, Tamamo would also be potentially a good pairing with him, since she can further reduce skill cooldowns. Taking a look at his Noble Phantasm, it is single target, 6 hits. It does have a different name depending on what we're going up against, but it is anti-unit. It's going to deal damage to one enemy and then deal 150% extra damage to enemies that have Thirst for Death status. So right there, the challenge aspect of that, still viable for this, but obviously this now turns it into something that has farming capability. This turns it into something that has one-turn capability, as anybody that's afflicted by his third skill, you just provided him with a super effective modifier. And then from there has 200% chance to instant kill them, so Azrael's going to be walking around death procking people like it's nobody's business, because he's got so many modifiers and chances to instant kill, it's not even funny. If his instant kill succeeds, he'll also charge his own NP gauge by 50%. I actually have talked about this before because it's the same thing that Cursed Arm has. I really wish they would instead have given Cursed Arm and Azrael by extension 50% refund if the instant kill didn't succeed, because I feel like that's the more often occurrence against things that are annoying like bosses and servants, but still, it's definitely going to be a powerful thing when it does occur. It's just not likely to occur very often. You guys can see the breakdowns here as to the instant kill effects, but again, if you want to know more about the way instant kill works, go check out my video where I talk about instant kills and instant death explained. And you guys can see the overcharge effect here is going to increase his own NP damage for 3 turns, activating first. So basically, this will stack, and obviously because it's MP damage up, it can be multiplied by someone like Oberon if you want to try to pair him alongside. So, definitely a lot going on there. Just taking a quick look at his Bond 10 Craft Essence. It increases his own NP damage by 30%, grants him a debuff on attack that will further reduce instant kill resistance by 30% when using an extra attack card, and another one that will reduce the enemy's instant kill resistance when critical attacking. So this just makes it so that everything he does is going to start imparting instant kill resist down and making him much, much, much more likely to instant kill. The one thing to denote is, unlike King Hassan, Azrael does not have a passive that allows his attacks to instant kill. So he can stack instant kill down, but the only way he's going to get instant kills are from his third skill or his NP. So just keep that in mind, that that's going to be the unfortunate side of this. But you can definitely find a pairing with someone like King Hassan where Azrael's sort of your setup guy and is stacking a bunch of instant kill downs on people, and then King Hassan just walks in and asks them to bare thy neck. Oh, that helps out my voice so much. Okay. Let's talk about refund right now for Azrael, because I feel like it's important. This is very interesting because, as you guys can see, Azrael is currently using presence concealment to hide himself as a Scalifus. But obviously, if we look at his refund numbers, we can see that they are pretty solid for what they are, especially as a single target. Single targets often have very low refund amounts because it's understood that they're either going to need to card to get back to it, or they're just going to have to brute force charge him. This is not the case with Azrael. Obviously, getting 6 out of 6 is not going to be, feasible for most scenarios, but 1 out of 6 being 35% here is pretty nice and a lot higher than most other units. Most other units we're seeing single target wise are in the like 10 to 20% range. So him just getting 35% of his charge back with double Castoria against any enemy is pretty nutty. And when you start thinking about trying to make him NP after NP after NP, you start realizing that 35% is going to add up real quickly. You're looking at over 100% refund just from that right there in a 3-turn environment. Then he has 80% charge on his first skill. So that's literally Hassan providing 180% charge without the addition of things like mana loading, charge craft essences, or even like the actual charge coming off of a support. So yeah, it's pretty nutty, honestly, and definitely a great thing to denote. And obviously, if you're going up against things like Berserkers or Assassins themselves, you're going to get worse numbers, but it's interesting to see that for a single target, Hassan's refund numbers are pretty cracked. Talking about those refund scenarios, taking a look here, you guys can see that we actually end up having quite a bit of options. We have, obviously, our Norn in the wastes there, just sort of adding the capability of giving him additional arts up in charge. You have Waver, who still to this day has a little bit more capability due to his recent buff, giving him obviously overcharge and things like that. So that's going to further help Hassan's damage there. And as we look, we can see your standard generic like double Castoria Oberon comp. We can also see weird mixings, and we can probably make any number of other mixes work here. We definitely see a commonality of mana loading here being very useful because of that combination with the 80%. But truly, mix and match with him. Try to play around and see what you guys can do, and I think you'll be surprised at how capable this unit is. Taking a look at his self-damage buff numbers here right now, you guys can see Azrael's going to end up coming in at pretty decent raw numbers for a single target. Even at MP1, he's dealing about 47, 48k there with no external buffs. Thirst for Death, giving him the super effective modifier there, jumps him immediately up to 71k, and that is solid damage for a single target. Now remember, this is raw, neutral, no external buffs from anybody. So how does he look in an actual composition where he's the focus of a lot of buffs and maybe trying to fire off NP after NP? So yeah, obviously we'll refer to this as a 3-turn, but just imagine instead it's like up against a boss with multiple break bars. So you guys can see damage numbers there are actually pretty solid, and this is assuming that we have his mana loading append at play. But what it's not assuming is things like carding and critting and stuff after the NP. Naturally, we can get even more out of this. We can maybe stretch him a little bit more. And it's something to be aware of, as it may open the possibility for different compositions with supports. Or maybe utilizing him in a hybrid setup with another damage dealer. So keep that in mind. Looking at that, though, with the thirst mechanic in play, obviously it's not really coming in there, but by turn 3, boom, there you go. You get a ton of extra firepower. So really just nutty. And looking at one-shot damage, not the best. He's definitely going to get outpaced by some of our other assassins that are out there, but it is pretty crazy. We do have the Erder version here as well. Just so that you guys understand how Erd works. She, again, is going to be another arts buffer that can help him out. She can get a little bit more firepower in certain scenarios based off of that. Taking a look at Kama, though, for instance, Kama's 3-turn is notably weaker without the effect of Charm, but even with the effect of Charm, Kama is comparable to him without Thirst in play. Looking at her one-shot damage, though, she's a little bit better able to amp quickly. So that's, again, the reason why I say Azrael's going to be a lot more in the mix of, like, challenge scenarios, duration scenarios, but still can amp damage fairly well. Just don't expect it to happen immediately and be a big deal for stuff like that. 744k is nothing to sneeze at, but again, when you've got Kama out here at NP1 just knocking on the door to 1 million, pretty crazy in that regard. Comparatively, let's take a look at Li Shuen, who is going to have a little bit more raw capability, but no real niche to speak of other than his anti-man. And even anti-man is still just going to lose outright to Azrael with Thirst. So therein lies a little bit of a problem for Li Shuen. Looking at King Hassan, it's a very similar scenario, but King Hassan truly doesn't have a niche at the current point in time. He's borrowing anti-man from Koyanskaya. So looking at him, King Hassan probably at this point could use a little bit of attention in the damage department, but still he's a very hard unit to bring down, and that's always kind of been his goal. Gensai is another newer one that's also Buster. And as you guys can see, her damage amp is a little bit more capable if we can get all of her stuff in play. But naturally, in a 3-turn, she's not going to necessarily have as much firepower raw unless she can get those niches. So this is why I keep saying a lot of this comes down to what you have, what's at play in the node, and what you guys actually think you're going to do in terms of uses for Azrael. If you like the way he works, he's going to be fantastic for you. Just keep in mind, similar to some of the other units we've seen come out in the past, he maybe requires a little bit of patience to use effectively. But still, he's going to be very, very capable and absolutely a just insane unit when put in the right scenario. So, personally, for me, he's not a must-roll. It's kind of a crazy thing, obviously, to say for our new anniversary unit, but hey, it is the way it is. And looking at him, I do think he's still got very cool ascensions. Obviously, you guys will probably want to know more about him coming up, but we're not going to talk about that. If you want to know more, go check out the Famitsu interview. I know my buddy Mr. Two Love Trouble did a recording of it and translation of it, so feel free to go check that out if you want more. But ultimately, Hassan, not necessarily a god of roll, still a very effective and good unit. He does fit right into the current meta, even managing to challenge Kama in some ways. So, let me know what you guys think about him and whether or not you guys think that you'll roll for Hassan in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure you like the video and consider subscribing to the channel, as it really does help me out. Can he work with the alter ego as well? Yes. I will fix that later. It's all good. I mean, Steve can leave that in as something that's funny. I truly don't mind. First Annie unit in a long time I'm skipping. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with skipping an Annie unit. I've skipped many Annie units over the years. I did not roll Sherlock when he came out. I did not roll Da Vinci when she came out. How good is he at instant death versus non-servants? He's probably the best thing you can get. And I say that not from experience, but just literally looking at his numbers. I have almost every unit Sherlock eludes me. Yeah. Single charge is just way over competitive right now. Well, I still really like this skill for him. That he can be this chat. Whenever I see a skill like this, do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Nero Bride. Nero Bride is such a flexible unit. She's so good at what she does. Not because she's the best, but because she can go either way depending on what the situation calls for. And I think that's important to have in your, like, kit somewhere, somehow, right? Because she's Zumu. Yep. So you can get that refund. True. I think, again, he'll be useful because he can take out a single enemy wave. And he's a 100% charger with this and his mana loading unlocked. Like, I made a big deal about this on the video, but chat, you absolutely don't have to have this. It's 30% extra damage against beasts. It's nice. How often do you fight beasts? So therein lies your issue. And considering other things could also be useful to him, it really just boils down to, like, what you really want to do with them. How you see yourself using. Using his skill 2 on an ally is a no-brainer. Yeah. Yeah, it gives someone else the guts. It increases their attack. And he still gets his own skill cooldown reduction and arts up. So if we factor these top two parts out, chat, this is what you are comparing. Would you rather grant an ally gut status 1 time 3 turns, increase their attack, charge their gauge by 30%, or would you rather increase your own critical damage for 3 turns and gain critical stars? If you have critical stars abound, this is really, at that point, then critical damage versus these other effects. So. You just switch around the append? Exactly, lol. And that is another thing. Right now, assassins really need a strong AoE buster unit. Oh, they have one. Let me introduce you to her. Let's go to class. Let's go to assassin. Chat, which assassin do you think I'm talking about? Oh, you think it's Cleo? It could be, right? Like, Tiamat? I mean, that's definitely, like, that actually probably would have been a more funny one, but I did come into the assassins. Hoenn? No. Chat, there's your really strong AoE assassin. That's Buster. And it's free! My JP Grand, yep. Yeah, here. Oh, I'm sorry, chat. She dropped this. Let me just do another star right here. I feel like people overlook the 4 stars too much. I don't think they necessarily do. It's just Gray is one of those like welfares that like, man, they probably overtuned her. Like she's just a little bit too strong. And it's also compounded by, as chat has mentioned, the 4-star AoE busters are not the strongest. Sorry, 5-star AoE busters are not the strongest. She's also missing 10% battery. Well, remember, you can get that 10% now from the like end of part 2 Mystic code. So it is what it is. Plus, she has 10% on the back end of her NP, so she does get it. Oh, you think she's blocked by her 20% charge? Yeah. Where have I heard that before? Oh, you think it's the Salter buff? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. You do realize that Salter was able to loot before that buff, right? Cleo will get a buff trust. I actually hope she does. I think Cleo's a great unit. Okay. Let me break this down for you guys, because it's the same thing with her as it is with Gray. Because they both have this, okay? Solve for 300, chat. You start out with 50% charge. Sorry, in this case, I believe it's 60%. I'm not going to use the new Mystic code, just so that we make this easier to show you guys the old way in which this was done. You have mana loading. You pop their 20% charge skill. They refund 10. You double Koyanskaya. They refund 10. You get their 20% charge skill back. You get another 20% from Oberon. You get another 50% from Oberon. There you go. Now, I know chat's sitting there thinking like, but Cad, 60% Cs are not the best. Well, you're right, but there are still some good ones out there. Like, when I say a 60% C, chat, I am not just like... Here, I'll show you guys on a day. It's easier. Oops. When I say a 60% C, I'm not talking like one of these, okay? You can use that in a pinch. But when I say a 60% C, I'm talking about like one of these. And Better had one that was good as well. Yeah, there's several good 60% Cs out there. Well, that's why I say, like, why does this matter? It's all attack. It's 10% buster up and 60% charge. So that's better than taking imaginary element. Did I? How much AP did I spend on JP? I did spend it all? Okay. I didn't remember that. Salem, thank you for the 2 years. Chat, can we get some love? Let me see how many of my emote holders are not lurking. Ah. Part 2 came out? Yep. Yeah, so if you guys want to continue with Ordeal Call 3, you obviously can. I cannot continue with Ordeal Call 3. Because I can't go to the moon yet. I have to first purge Japan of the sickness. We're going to continue Ordeal Call 2 right now, chat. Most of you guys should already be done with this. If you're curious, I'm in section 15. We're just getting started. But the goal, if possible, is to finish this by tomorrow. Fly us to the moon, yep. I'm going to turn on sound. And pause song request. Totally not the villain. What do I think of OC2 so far? It's good. It is an interesting mystery. Damn. Dad Larry's hitting him with the truth. Damn, bro has no aura. Yang is missing the space travel trait like a few other units. Interesting. A permanent one with 11th Annie? Oh, I'll have to go look. That I didn't realize either. It may be one that I got. Because I never... When I rolled for 11th Annie, I didn't roll enough that I had to manage my Cs. The Man in Gray. Yes, of course she is. Butler for a Stargazer. I guess we're the Stargazer. Freaky. You still have like 10 to 11 chapters to read? Yeah. Like I said, I figure I'm maybe halfway. Totally not the queen. Somewhere I've never been before. I'm gonna ignore her. Not because I want to piss chat off, but mostly because I feel like if she's actually the villain, then we should try to piss the villain off. Hi, Auntie. Avalon was really on point with the music. That's true. Avalon, I didn't realize you composed this. Oh, that's a nice one, Jay. They should make those into Spiritron dress? Yes, we know. We've all been asking. So, Avalon, are you saying that you think that people don't have the space flightable trait because it came early? Marie's gone fishing. I wish there was a way to, like, submit bug requests easier for the game. Activate simple summons. But what about my auntie? Maybe other masters, but not me! I like punching people! I cast Fist! Cad's becoming a Nord? Yes. I will always give the MC credit for fist fighting an actual demon. Yep, it's why, like, I was so upset with how they did the, By the way, chat, Saberface only. Ha I will always be upset for how they did the protagonist dirty for the Solomon movie. Because they just made it all about, oh, well, he's using a mystic code instead of he actually went up knowing full well he has no actual power and just punched a fucking god in the face. He knew it wouldn't affect it. He didn't care. He did it anyways. About sending a message, exactly. Sometimes, chat, that's all that matters. He learned from Leonidas, yep. Yeah, whatever, we'll do it again. Oh, the Saberface, not Saberface, but Saberface? Yeah. Like I said, do I have to be using Kakaru here? No. Do I feel like it invalidates the run? No. Kakaru is stated to be the next Saberface that was coming with Samurai Remnant. And the artist even said they were so happy to be drawing the next Saberface. And then FGO is like, yeah, it doesn't get the trait. It's like, okay. %40 is bad odds. Oh, she actually killed outright. Interesting. Well, her extra attack might kill them. I was just trying to play it safe. 40% to 50%, either it happens or it doesn't. It's so funny about, like, the way probabilistic outcomes are, like, calculated in games. Truly, it is just a yes or no. Well, that was easy enough. Damn. Maybe that was Marie. And that's all they wanted, was to get us covered in AIDS. Yeah, we have Avenger AIDS now. Something that Marvel hoped to give everyone. Better cut that arm off, yep. Interesting. Is this Hassan not actually a Hassan? I gave everything I had to the Order and our founder, so I guess technically yes. She really cares about us, yep. Is it not the arm that usually bears command seals? Well, what do you mean? Like, it's for us it's on the hand, but usually it is on the hand with some exceptions. But yeah, if we cut that arm off, then there would be problems. And it's heavily implied that if we use our last command seal, we're going to have gone too far. So we'll have to see what happens when we get up against the next challenge. Like, I think I'm on challenge 2 or 3 out of 7. Oh, I see. I still really do like his animations. He doesn't pop up much after this, to my knowledge. Salieri? I mean, like, Salieri we at least got Lost Belt 1 with. So he's actually had some time. In that regard, it's kind of upsetting that he gets more here in the story, because he's already been prominently featured, but I'm okay with it. He's a very interesting character. Oh, Hassan, I gotcha. So basically, they're both doing the same tactic. Ah, my queen! Hmm. I'm surprised, since he's actually being possessed by a Chaldean servant, that he can't just, like, forcibly eject himself out. Right? Like, I'm surprised they're able to just take one of ours like that, considering he's literally being manifest through Dante's in a dream. Right? There's not a eject out of the dream type situation. Killed him. Do it. Stuck there, yeah. Can't he just forcibly pull us if he's one of the threats? But maybe he's not a threat yet. Kagekiyo's taking us for a walk. Is that what chat's always wanted? Nice. She needs to step on us for her vengeance. Yeah, Torek. Is that what's going on in your head? I'm not gonna ask which head. I'm not commenting. It's too late, you already did. Guda Guda Summer? Well, it doesn't look like we're getting Guda Guda Summer at the moment. If anything, the theme of anniversary is back to school right now in JP, so... It's the man, the myth, the legend. Salad Larry. At least he just admitted it. They're clearly trying to, like, isolate the Master. And trying to make the Master feel alone and upset and angry. And it's like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. But also... No. There are berserkers here. Yeah, we'll leave it as what it is. I respect the honesty. I do too. And I think it's a sign that, like, he still is at heart our ally, but he's being forced to do this. 7 enemies. I think we go with that because I'll probably loop Takaru fairly easily. And we need to focus on killing Salieri. I'm liking it pretty good though, Char. It's at least, like I said, it's interesting because being posed as a mystery and you're not sure where it's going. We're still trying to do it saber face only. I just hope this doesn't make him instant charge. Please don't instant charge. Okay, perfect. She has enough charge there. Ow. Let's see if I can actually one-turn the wave. Yep, it gonna happen, chat. Love how Anti counterbalances that perfectly. Anyone can devolve into life and anger and hate if they have no support system to get them through the rough spots. Yeah, truly. Like, it's... Sometimes, like I said, you have to be responsible for your own choices and your own actions, but there is shit that happens that is out of your control. How you treat others does matter, but ultimately, nobody can really blame you if you just had heaps of shit heaped on you, right? Like, truly, stuff can get rough. Let's actually alternate cards here just to make sure we kill. Miss Chaya, thank you for the raid. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? I don't know if I have a mod present, but can I get a shout out for Miss Chaya? How are you guys doing? What were you guys up to today? We were just, we actually finished going over the anniversary stuff, at least to date, on JP. And talked about the buffs, talked about Azriel, and, oh, nice, you rolled for him, got him MP2, nice. I did my GSSRs yesterday, and I got very lucky. I had a triple, actually, on one of the Destiny orders, which is insane. But then right after that, I went and tried to roll Azriel, and, like, literally, it was, like, all min rolls for, like, the first, like, 600-ish courts. And then we ended up getting him at about 690, finally. We, like, there was, like, truly nothing. It was doldrums. There were no 4-star servants, nothing. And then finally he showed up. I was like, oh, thank God, we didn't go all the way to pity. So I just kind of stopped there so that I still have something for summer. But glad to hear you got him. Hopefully it was easy for you. We're back now on NA, just as a brief, like, warning to anybody coming in. This is currently at Ordeal Call 2. We're in, I think we are just now finishing up section 15. So just you've been forewarned, but yeah, we've had a very productive stream so far, so thank you again for the raid. Happy to have you guys here. If you guys need to, feel free to go take a break, get a drink, go to the bathroom, or just, you know, settle in and get comfy. As we go through this, and so whenever I do story, I do it saber face only, so I'm only allowed to use people that have the saber face trait, with only 2 exceptions. Those exceptions being Arthur, who doesn't have it, and technically I have taken to using Yamato Takaru, who was stated to be a saber face by the Samurai Remnant developers, but didn't get the trait when they came into FGO. But the rules of it are basically I must use only saber faces with those 2 exceptions, and then if I get forced into using like a story support, it is the way it is. I will try not to use them, but ultimately I don't consider it to invalidate the run, because otherwise there would be no capability to do it. But I have done Saberface only runs ever since Babylonia on NA, and it's been fun, because NA is my whale account, and I use it essentially to limit the strength of this account. Otherwise it would very much be able to overpower most of the content that the game throws at us. But it's definitely led to some interesting experiences. In that entire time, I have never once failed a fight, and the only time I have ever even used a command seal across all of those times was all the way back in Shinjuku. Very interesting, because the story definitely parallels Shinjuku in a lot of ways. So the oddity of using saber faces only in a singularity that deals primarily with Avengers is that I really only have John Alter as a Avenger for the saber faces. Granted, if I had to have an Avenger, that's a pretty good one to have, but it definitely makes it a little rough as I can't sit there and perfectly support her. This is actually so true about my actual party. A lot of the Saberface runs devolve into you kill things as fast as you can, or else you die. Like, Saberfaces, I mean, thankfully at least now I have, like, Castoria in the game and stuff, but truly there's no, like, sustain in these Saberface runs. It's very boom and bust. Maybe using Summer Mysterious Hair and Alter for a boss fight, or does she not have enough synergy with other saber faces? I certainly can. Right now, though, I am predominantly going with what works, because I'm a little bit going in blind. I know for the most part the singularity wasn't too hard until, like, pretty much the final fight. So, it is what it is. Also, Purse Pixel, thank you for the follow, I appreciate that. But yeah, I've been doing it for years. I always do Saberface only, just because it's a way to make the story content a little bit more interesting. Now, chat has a tendency to tell me that it's too easy, since I do have Castoria nowadays. But my stance is that I fought to be able to use Castoria, because I had to go through all of Ordeal Call 5 without her. And in particular, probably the closest I've actually come to failing since Shinjuku happened in Ordeal Call 5. Which was the beast fight in there. The only way we got through it was with Squirtoria and double OG Janu. And we had to use an entire backline of the Ideal Holy King CE in order to have enough health just to survive. And it was rough. We had to go like a 40 turn or something. Like, it was just It was a nasty fight, and I was on pins and needles the entire time. In fact, I think the first time I attempted it that way, I failed it. Sorry, not OC5. LB5. Thank you, chat. I'm sorry. Did I just spoil the future of FGO? There's gonna be a 5th ordeal call, chat. This one deals with beasts. It happens sometimes. I definitely have a tendency to transpose things in my mind. I don't know if I have a touch of, like, dyslexia. It was so funny. We were down at her family's house, and I was playing a board game with the kids, and it was kind of like a ripoff of, like, Clue. And so you'd pick up a card, and you had to use, like, a magnifying glass to read it, because the magnifying glass actually just flipped it. Or no, sorry, I think you were supposed to use a mirror because it was written backwards. And I still remember, like, her nephew was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna get out the mirror and I'm gonna read it. And then I, like, pick up the card, I just look at it, and I just read it backwards. Like, as far as I know, I don't have dyslexia, but I've never had a problem reading things backwards. I don't know if that's, like, the inverse of the issue. Early access to the Foreigner Ordeal call. It was so interesting. We were actually supposed to get a Foreigner Ordeal call, and we kind of got an event that dealt with it as a replacement, but we never, like, properly got one. And it makes me wonder if they decided against it, and that, like, instead we're going to be dealing more with the Foreigners in Part 3. Because if you think about it, like, obviously the Beast storyline is still a thing, but they definitely said that, like, we're not going to be dealing with outer space anymore in the future. So it tells me that, like, if we talk about the outer gods, they're technically not, like, trapped in outer space. They're trapped in a different, like, realm of existence. So I think that's what they're gonna, like, potentially do as another threat alongside the beasts. Orange Breaker. More stories stuck on Earth? Probably. Also had some interesting comments on the summer. Yeah, I mean, I heard some of the, like, bigger points from Trubs, but obviously I don't want to talk, like, actual spoilers for nitty-gritty stuff. But Nasu did at least talk about how we are getting Part 3, and that he'll see us all for that, so it at least implies that Nasu is going to be involved in the future of the game, which is great. That's what we've all been hoping for. I'm not going to say that, like, FGO couldn't still have decently well-written stuff at this point without Nasu. I think it could, but I think it would struggle to ever hit as hard as when Nasu was involved. So I'm happy to hear that he's still going to, like, be involved in it. Fucking outer plot space, yes. She wants to cut off her head. We need more beast servants. I still kind of agree with that. And to be fair, I do think we're going to get that. Like, we've talked about how there are, like, beasts of humanity, but there's also, so chat, that would be like a beast of Alaya. But there's also beasts of the star, so that's going to be a beast of Gaia. So instead of it being an evil of humanity, it'd be like an evil of, like, nature. Also, Chad, I have to show you guys this, because, I sent it to VIP, and we put it on the Conan server as a mod. I haven't had the time, really, to play, to experiment with it, but I figured you guys would like this, so let me grab it real fast. Yeah. I told them that I was adding this as a mod to the server. It's enhanced harmless bunnies. And as you can tell based off the image, it's not quite so harmless of a bunny. Look at the bones! Probably put in a gun on us and said you can't go away. I don't think they necessarily had to get that tough with it. I truly think that Nasu going through the ending of part 2 and hearing from people, I think Nasu understands how much his legacy is tied into FGO at this point. How much FGO truly does just bankroll him and allows him to do what he wants. So I think he's just at this point where he's like, I may as well just do everything I can in FGO and keep, like, milking it because it's good for me as a person. It's good for my reputation, it's good for my legacy that I'm leaving behind, and it keeps Fate relevant and still ever evolving. Yep. And, like, I've said this before, it's like, I don't mean to denigrate, like, Tsukihime or Witch and the Holy Knight or anything like that, but truly, those other IPs are a, like, sliver of how much Fate can make. They have gotten more popular thanks to Fate. It's kind of like George Lucas being like, I don't want to do Star Wars anymore, I want to go back to directing independent films. And it's like, that's true, but nothing you ever do will ever be as impactful as Star Wars. Right? I guess we're just going to keep doing this composition. It seems to be working really well. Do you think Primate Murder may come into FGO at some point? I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see, because, like, essentially you have that that idea that, like, Koyanskaya tried to take over that slot. So I do wonder if maybe instead we end up with a, like, different beast that represents Beast 4 or something for nature. Trumpet practice, yeah. Yeah, you're gonna blow your trumpet, aren't you, Amatsuka? Oh, he's still struggling. He gonna get his revenge? No more triangles? Yes, all we need is more cowbell. To be fair, the Watcher class is not even, like, a proper class, if that makes sense. Hello, Peaceful. How's it going, bud? Why does Foe like female Merlin? Just no actual interaction, and still doesn't entirely like female Merlin. There we go. We got Unbeast class. It's just Beast, though. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see them do stuff like that, where they try to say, hey, this class is not this class, but it's still grouped with this class. So they can try to do more unique stuff like that, but the game already has stuff like that to a degree. It would be new and unique, but also not new at all. Oh yeah, no, it's pretty well known that Proto Merlin is stated to be a beast of the star. That's where we get the line from. Hey, what if you just took a seat, good sir? Phone's been in the repair shop, so I've been playing on an old tablet. Hair pulling to get it to work enough to play for any amount of time. Oof. Yeah, at that point a little bit, it's like you try to do your 3 runs and then make blue apples and bide your time. But that sucks, I'm sorry to hear it. Hope you've been well otherwise. It's very easy to see how someone like Merlin could become a beast, like, regardless of Lady Avalon or not, because Merlin has this obsession with humanity, where he wants to know about humanity. I think that's why Lady Avalon is a beast candidate, because Merlin watches from outside time a little bit, almost like a certain someone else that we know. Because he's interested to see the future and the way that, like, humanity's story unfolds. Lady Avalon, by contrast, is the same, but appears to do it more because she loves humanity. And so that's like, oh boy, I wonder where the beast side of things can come from. I was gonna say, when is the master just gonna collapse from sheer exhaustion? Merlin's addicted to voyeurism. I mean, it's less that, more he's trapped in a tower and we're the only channel. There we go. A little bit, the more we use beasts, the more it sounds patently insane that beasts are actually, like, it basically throws their lore out the window, right? More prototype characters in Aftertime. Yeah, we'll see. Merlin is bored, truly. This is odd, though. I expected I was gonna get to a another like trial tonight, but I didn't. Unless like the trumpet's gonna blare for him right here. Oh shit. Let's go to the roof. Check the fence. Check the water tank. Unless the name Artrea comes up, so peace should be fine, yeah. Check the sweetbread on the ground. Unless they remember that plot line. Oh, I do believe they know. I think they just realized that they had put off Arthur's buff for far too long. And it was becoming a little bit of a problem, right? I want to go back to the roof again. The Shahan Pier. Check the trees. It'd be pretty hilarious if we did. Check the broken shed. It's a point-and-click mystery game. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I actually feel like this is something that they should have done more of in the past. Alright, chat, what's the actual answer? Because I want to do every other possible thing. Yeah, in the same way, Dubs. Sucks to be you. Sally's classroom has the note that you need? Okay. Like, when you give me these options, yeah, I want to read them all. It's fun. It's interesting. I'm not supposed to. This section had to be a little bit difficult, though, because they had to make it loop, and FGO dialogue only usually moves forward. Okay, let's check the lockers. Let's check the blackboard. Okay. No, I think you're right, Dubs. I gotcha. Hear the Queen's words echoing over and over again. Hardly any time has passed, and yet I feel myself fracture. Who am I? I am death. I am the one who will kill the child loved by. No, 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 no. Actually, it's the no, 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 no. Music is the only thing keeping me in check. I won't be able to hold on much longer. So for now, I will go to the music. I mean, of course it's in the music room. That's where they both go. Alright, you're gonna try to splatter me with more blood. At least they gave you a combat, but truly, I don't think you actually needed one here. This feels like such an unnecessary one. No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait. It usually feels like we're just reacting to things. Yeah. I do agree. I like the writing style of this chapter so much. It's just, it feels so well done comparatively. I'm just gonna do this just so that she can loop through. I enjoyed it, yep. I at least enjoy it so far. Obviously, I have no idea where it's gonna end up. Because the mystery, these things are always defined by their conclusion. So we'll have to see whether or not I like where it's headed, because I think I have an idea of where it's headed. And I feel like I'm gonna be maybe disappointed by it, but we'll see. I am hopeful that that will not be the case, and I will always try to keep an open mind with these things.
絶に起動。我が前に立ちはだかるすべて。死にせよ。渾身。
Discord logging me up. Get a voice what you think or keep it to yourself? I'm gonna keep it to myself. Sometimes if I talk about certain things, it invites people to spoil, and I definitely don't want that to occur.
踊りなさいよ。優雅に。選択さあ、了解了
Yeah,
解。
we're just gonna have to one turn it with Jalter here.
これは憎悪によって磨かれた我が魂の方法。
As much as the time gauge. Yeah, a little bit like unfortunately I had to read through the entire first chapter for OC3.
楽しいかしら？
But I at least like that I'm gonna like by the time I get to OC3, we will already be well on our way to the third chapter almost being ready. So at that point, it is what it is. Which actually I should check. Chad, I assume we have more missions to do OC3? Yeah, okay. That may be something I need to do next week then. Shortly before it expires. So when she said go there, she was actually just abbreviating Grand Order. Alright, chat. It is 10:59. I'm gonna stop right here. Lest I get embroiled in something that takes me forever to do. So, we have cliffhung you, but we will be back at the stunning conclusion of Salad Larry's defection tomorrow. So, again, I hope to see you guys for that. Thank you guys. I know when I do story, especially for those of you guys that have already done it, it's maybe not the most interesting thing, but I appreciate those of you guys that still stick around to the end of stream. You guys know I love you. Thank you guys for all the support as always. Let me see if I can find somebody to love. I see a Mr. Fox Forest on. I'm going to send you guys over his way. And again, as always, what happens if OC3 expires? You will eventually get it back in the form of a main interlude, but it won't be until next year. So you'll have to wait for several months. Again, thank you guys. See you guys for the next one. Keep your eyes peeled for a new video on YouTube tomorrow.